Teamwork doesn't always make the dream work. Hi, I'm Michelle Samuels for Why Goals ID, and today our topic is around teamwork. What we're trying to figure out is why teamwork doesn't always make the dream work. I mean, some people say teamwork always makes the dream work, and to a certain degree, there is a high level of truth in that. The great challenge is, when does it make the dream work, and why doesn't it make the dream work? What are the constraints, and what are the challenges, and what are the selection criterion that are established in line with achieving goals and outcomes? When we're talking about achieving goals and outcomes, we're actually talking about in the context of a business setting, organization setting, or individual, from an individual standpoint, because you don't necessarily have to be working for somebody to be able to. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. I had to quickly do something. Yeah. So I can't get to rewind what I was in the process of saying, but we'll just move on. So some people say teamwork makes always makes the or teamwork makes the dream work. Yes, it will to some degree, but there are some factors to be considered. Some of the factors are, how does one select the right team? And if we look at the word team, there must be elements of, it's almost as if you have to have the vision of you the vision that you hold on some level must be evident that it can be carried through to the point of, well, rather through action to the point of creating a physical outcome through individuals. So one of the most important things is, it's almost like being able to align individuals with the vision, as well as with you as a person to a certain degree. And those individuals must be ready to take right action. And the right word is a bit borderline gray area. So we don't, when we're talking about right action, we're thinking about right action as it relates to what's communicated by the visionary. And many times what happens is teamwork doesn't necessarily make the dream work, because a vision is being communicated, but it's not properly communicated. There's a disruption, um, in terms of, from one point to the next, what is received and what is sent, and the clarity is just totally lacking. If the clarity of vision is lacking, then the team may more than likely not necessarily be able to work together towards a specific outcome. So when you're selecting your team in line with the goals that you're going after, the first point of action is you and the vision you have. However, one must be aware that the vision you may have after selecting those team members may alter in terms of shape or form, because there are so many different interactions between people of different designs, and they're coming in with creative abilities, and also operating on an energy level within the organization, or the state, meaning the specific way of operating on a daily basis or for a specific period of time. So when you're selecting your team, one of the things that many big corporations do is that they do assessments, and they look at the psychometric abilities of the person. Do base like mathematics, English. I mean, personality checks and so on, which is only logical, because there are certain qualities you're looking for in individuals. However, so what happens sometimes with these applications is that they're not tailored to identify unique talents and skills in individuals in some situations, because what might or may be conveyed on from the viewpoint of, a CV or whatever it is, may not really be clear based on its design about the quality of the persons that are being evaluated. And I mean, anybody can come in and sell you a dream. And sometimes the people can come in selling a dream of self and the ability to attach themselves to somebody else's vision and the ability to contribute to that vision. However, one of the worst outcomes is selecting a number of people who do not fit the bill in terms of being able to bring the dream to life to the degree that is necessary, and also being able to work together to even make the vision better than it was. So when you're creating your goals, let's move away a bit from business and go towards like how one will operate the household, how one will design their lives around, just planning, looking ahead, achievements, and so on. So being that being that a lot of people that are interested in channels like these, they go after bigger goals more than likely, and higher, not higher in terms of higher in comparison to somebody else, but maybe more a broader vision that is more costly, more detailed, with physical things involved. So if there the vision and objectives that need to be achieved, one must be very clear that it's necessary to collaborate with others, even if it is on the basis of requiring services from them on a higher level thinking. Now, sometimes what happens is you the visionary can be very much constrained by certain things, and some of those things can be the financial aspects of it, even before steps of progress are made, or actions in line with progress are made. So it's important that the visionary, or the person who is a visionary, is able to project beyond their present circumstances to almost a point of advanced thinking. Now, if if you don't know the details of, because you can create the basic outline of the dream. So you want a house, you want a car, you want these standard things. But what I've found in um, certain scenarios is that a lot of people, they dream, but they dream from it's almost like it's not as detailed, as they don't know the options available to them to be able to create a more detailed view of the dream, so as to communicate that detail to people who are skilled in certain areas, and to be able to select those people from a competitive standpoint. Because when you're going into to be able to achieve a goal, let's say you want to build a house, there are some things that I've recognized through research and personal experiences. And one of the simplest, or simplest things, is that there are so many different types of ways to build a house, and there are different forms of architecture involved. Now, some average people don't know the different types of architecture. I didn't know person. I had to do my research around architecture, the different types of architecture. I won't say the type that I like because it may it may be questionable to some people, and some people like a more classical approach, or I kind of like it's like a Zen approach, but it's kind of modern. So a bit of Asian in there somewhere. Yeah. The next thing is like because they're not able to start even from the different types of architecture that are available, they can't actually see the details of how the house would come together either. And I do totally understand. Why is this relevant? It's relevant because when you're creating your goals and dreams, you want to be able to look at it from the viewpoint of selecting people that have the skills to achieve the objective in line with the vision or goal, and also to be able to have that conversation even if it's not highly filled with jargons or terms within their profession, but you're able to understand at least from a basic standpoint when somebody is trying to pull wool over your eyes, or if you can negotiate a cost, or once you can show some knowledge that you have an idea of what they're doing, even if you don't have the full information of what their skills are. I think negotiation occurs more, almost, you create a sort of advantage for yourself. So the details of the house, it may require for you, which a lot of people may not want to do. It may require for you to do some learning about how a house how or what would it be like to build a house. Starting from the basics like the architecture, the number of rooms. You're going into the details now. How many bathrooms, what's the interior design like, the walls, details of the tiling, stuff like that. Now, if you can do a bit of research around that, then it makes it easier for you to select your team, because you may be connecting with people who, they may be similar to you in terms of, oh, great personality, you get along. This is just an example. But they don't have the skills necessary, and who has the skills is trying to charge you, or it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, because, so to speak, it's gonna cost you quite a bit because of your, to a certain degree, your lack of knowledge as to what they're doing. In some scenarios, you may be able to do those activities yourself and cut your costs phenomenally. I mean, even depending on the quality of work that you want to achieve, you may surprise yourself that you have skills that you didn't even identify that you had. So let's say you're going along and you didn't have that mindset. You were just, playing it by ear, figuring it out as you're going along. There's nothing wrong with that, and it seems that along the way now you've changed, because you've become enlightened, and you've become more aware, I should say. You're more conscious now of the options that are available to you, because most people actually live their dream by default. I mean, I've been in circumstances where I'm thinking to myself, how did I end up here? And how do I get the hell out? And go in the direction. Sometimes it's just that you're positioned where you're positioned appropriately. I mean, it's the right place, or it's the right place in line with what the future holds, or where you are at in terms of your own consciousness. So when you're doing your teamwork selection, this is just an overview. And so when you're doing your team selection, your team may have in the past been selected on the basis of your own consciousness, and that would be reflected in the realities of your existence or your life. And this makes so much sense to me now that I'm doing this video, even more so than before. So the state of mind that you're in, the level of knowledge that you have, your own consciousness, your own vision, because you could have a really great vision and you could have really great people that create an outcome, but when you're looking at it based on your future self, or where you're at presently in comparison to where you were previously, the vision that you may have accomplished at that certain point in time may have not been what you would have necessarily done because of how advanced you have become on the path. So one of the ways to, and just to say that that can be very costly, because you have to put correction mechanisms you would have paid out from a human labor standpoint. Maybe you have to, just fix certain things that you weren't even aware that you needed to fix. And you may even achieve the objective, but ultimately you're not happy with the outcome. So I think from the initial stage, in order to get the team to work together on a tangent, that is in line with projecting. And I was looking at the word project this morning, and you want a positive outcome. It's almost like getting this like project, but if you look at the word ject, you can probably see eject, so you can see the outcome, but the pro would be requiring maybe professionals, or it may be some positive result of an outcome. And that positive word, we'll talk about that in another video, because I wanted to do a video around positive thinking as well. So what do you do when you projected into the future and you found that the team that you have selected, it could be from an employee standpoint, it could be your social setting, it could be from a project standpoint, it could be just overall. What do you actually do when your selection is somewhat off? One of the things that you may want to consider is actually doing the foundation and the groundwork from the very beginning. And this means that you may have to, it's almost like you're creating a new version of yourself, and that version of yourself is not at the present point in time. However, that version is a future version, and that future version is able to select the team based on you being able to acquire enough information to clearly see what you don't like from what you do like, and what would feel right for you as well. And that feeling part is so important, because when you're project, you'd be shocked, like you'd be surprised when there's an increase in knowledge as to what your options are. Then the dream becomes more clear. Then you can feel how it's almost like you can project you being in the vision once it's completed, and then you'll be able to have more clarity. Would I actually feel like this is an accomplishment? Would I feel fulfilled? Is this the type of person that I want to be in the future, and why? And who are these people that will actually help me to spiral, or to move slowly or at a pace in the direction of the outcome that I'm reaching for? And how do I interact with those people, or not interact, or put mechanisms in place to be able to get the outcomes without certain interactions, or mixed levels of non-interaction and interaction? Now, the one of the constraints is that you may be ready at a point now, but those people with the skill sets and the team that you've selected, but at the point which you're ready, they're unavailable. That's another factor to be thought about. So when you're looking at selecting your team, you're looking seriously at people who are available, who are even in the learning stages and are advancing through their craft as well. So one wants to, it's almost like aligning present self with future self, and being able to see clearly, more clearly, what the other parties involved, or in some cases now it's not even the other parties or the other people, but it could be technological investments and choices that one would need to make in order to minimize costs, maximize objectives, and also maintain and manage the outcomes to the project finish line and after. So there are categories of team members that one would want to look at as they set goals in life. So the categories may be very specific to the household, just the operational aspects of it in terms of who's going to be a gas supplier, who's going to be a water supplier, just standard things. Who is in charge of certain things within your community, like roadworks, this, that. What are the investment options that you have available as well? I mean, from a finance standpoint, let's not jump there. Let's stick to the household. So you want to look at, who are your suppliers? How do you move from one stage to the next, or changing suppliers? And if you're moving from certain situations, let's say rented to buying privately or something like that, how do you transition? What's the list of options that you have available to you? Are you going to do it locally? Are you going to do it internationally? If you have to do it internationally, who are the people that you need to communicate with? What's the language? Are there any barriers, cultural norms? Is there anything that you need to do to create that personality that is equipped to become the future version of you? And this means that sometimes you'll do it by default. You may do it by default, or you may actually just have learning curves that are necessary. But as I was saying previously, you may want to do the groundwork and the research. Just getting into the details, making the dream more clear, will assist you. And being able to understand self, I'm always going forward to this understanding self, and also understanding the design of those individuals who are going to connect with you, and how to communicate with them, how they operate, learning about their likes and dislikes, what are their drivers, what motivates them, how do you get the result while having the interaction with the people on a higher scale. Because it's all about the experience. It's not even the outcome is important as well, but the experience before and after and during is about. Some people say it's about the journey. You can select a really bad team. You can select a bad team that does not fit even within the constructs of, let's say, a business, from a business um operations standpoint. It's just the wrong selections, and enough questions aren't being asked, or what you're offering, it just not does not align with what the other people want in terms of outcome, or maybe it's not realistic. Sometimes in the initial stage, you might have to do all, if not most of the groundwork, and actually learn the skills that the other parties that you are going to tap into, so to speak, would have, and how to do a pricing mechanism around that. Some people tell you that teamwork makes the dream work. You walk away happy thinking, yes, I've finally achieved the outcome, but it doesn't make the dream work, because, first of all, you weren't necessarily honest with yourself, or you weren't clear about your vision, or you weren't clear about who you are. So any number of people can come on board and pull you any direction, work together to get an outcome, get rid of you, write it off from some level to say, yes, this was achieved and this is great, so we've achieved another one, but that's not your dream. So you feel stuck in the middle of being carried away by maybe one or a group of people that seem to have more clarity, or it just makes sense because that's what everybody else is doing. And it can be very daunting when you see a team of people work together and don't achieve an outcome. It causes you to feel like, oh my, like, what am I gonna do? Does this, like, teamwork doesn't make the dream work? How do I make the dream work? And if you're going in by yourself, it's as an individual, it can be very, very costly, expensive, but sometimes, like I said, the groundwork has to be done within you first. Then you can clearly select, then you can look at your costs, then you can maximize outcomes, even eliminate things that weren't really in line with what would make you happy in the first place. And one of the worst things, I think, thinking back on my own journeys working within organizations, that they don't have a clarity of vision, and you get sucked into these companies, and based on their lack of clarity of vision or lack of organization, and this is not a judgment because many companies are growing, but they don't tell you from the get-go that, do you know what, we don't have a clue what we're doing, or we're just trying to figure it out as we go along, and we've been making some money, and it so happens that, you seem like you're sensibly intelligent and you work with us. You give a good you sell a good picture of your ability, and sometimes your abilities far outweigh even the vision of the organization that you've stepped into. And this is a reality, even with all the combinations of people involved. So it always goes back to understanding you, and understanding that some people that come on board, that many of them will go through changes that can disrupt the whole project timeline, and disrupt the outcome itself. And one has to ask, what contingencies do you put in place to be able to not avoid that, but to be able to deal with that in the event that it shows up? And what other risk factors may be involved from the viewpoint of working with a team, whether it's a team from the viewpoint of people, or applications, technologies, and other forms of digital and so on. So as we go along, we're going to do these videos to create clarity of vision, and to help us to be able to design a construct that makes sense, not only tapping into the feeling aspect of it, but the logics aspect of it, and the reality aspects of it as well. So I'm Michelle Samuels for Why Goals ID. So I'm going to leave you here with this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep going and be empowered. Think outside the box and continue to push forward in the direction of your goals. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. Bye.